Now that we've split the skate from the shell and moved it out from underneath, we need to get it back and rolling. You can do this by wedging pieces of 4x2 in between the suspension arms, front and back, and adding the wheels back on. Now is the best time to clean the parts down. We've used around 4 cans of General Degreaser and then clean the skate with a water blaster. Make sure to cover the fuse box and avoid the intake when water blasting. We can now put this aside and finish stripping our donor parts from the shell. Starting in the cabin, we're removing the dash. Start by removing the glove box and centre tombstone cover. The dash is held in by 2 bolts either end and 4 bolts in the centre. The steering column needs to be removed and dropped out of the way. The last dash bolt is the one at the centre top. This is niggly. The AC unit has 3 connecting wires which you need to undo to remove it. Undo these and the plugs and remove. There's a pesky plate in the middle that also needs to be removed. Pull the dash forward and unplug the looms on the left hand side. On the right side there are 2 main plugs that connect the main loom to the dash sub-loom. Remove these and unplug all plugs on the steering column. Undo the bonnet puller and out the dash should come. Next onto the heater core, AC and blower unit. Undo and remove these. The steering column comes out easy now with a couple of bolts. The pedals are next. Disconnect the wiring in the way and then undo all bolts you see on the firewall. Each have a vertical bolt at the front of the pedal box. The clutch pedal has 1 bolt in the engine bay to undo also. Moving on to the body loom. 2 connectors are tucked behind the fuse box on the right. Unplug and remove the scuff panels. Follow the loom back, removing and unplugging as you go. You'll hit a roadblock at the back left side where it goes into the boot. Leave it there and remove the ECU from the firewall. Into the engine bay, where we can now remove the brake and clutch masters. Also remove the accelerator cable and speedo drive at this time. We're going to unplug and remove each headlight. This car, like many others, has had some things added and had a section of loom tucked behind things. You can see me working my way on getting this out before resorting to using a hammer and cold chisel to remove some parts out of the way. Work your way back to the firewall rubber boot by undoing and unbolting as you go. Removing the bonnet cable is easier here, so also undo this. Pop the rubber boot at the firewall and feed the loom through the firewall into the cabin. Now to the passenger side. Again, this side has been tucked into the fender, making things difficult. Remove and unbolt the headlight and work your way back to the firewall rubber boot. Feed it through into the cabin. The last section of loom is the boot. Work your way around the rear lights and then feed the loom into the cabin and remove from the passenger's side. Underneath the car, we need to remove the 2 handbrake hard lines, spring and tensioner. There is a cover in the way and you'll need to remove the fuel filter bolts to get to these. I also like to reuse the fuel line clamps, so work your way down the fuel lines and remove these also. The fuel cap rollover pipe section are needed. Remove those and the piping from the fuel tank. Disconnect all the fuel lines from the top of the fuel tank. Now we're ready to drop the tank. NA models have a drain plug. I suggest you drain this prior to removal. 4 bolts and a hook and it's removed. This concludes our donor car strip and it's ready to go to the scrapyard. Now before you go scrapping your donor, check our next video where we have a full checklist of the parts you should have left.